Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Welcome in. And with that, we are off. We are running. It is another brand new live edition of Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen with you on a Friday morning. Yes, no Drew DeArmond once again. Drew enjoying the day on a Friday. And why not? It is a beautiful Friday to not be in here and enjoy the day. I'll just say that. I mean, it's going to be another warm one throughout the Tennessee Valley. So safe travels into work, into school, wherever you may be headed. Got a lot of good outdoor stuff going on right now. The state soccer tournament into the semifinals. We will actually crown champions today, and a pair of schools from our area are going to be playing for a state championship today. Now, if you want to go and recap everything, head to 977ESPN.com. Scroll on down to our local sports stories. We've got the East Limestone story. We've got the Russellville boys story. We've got the Whitesburg Christian Academy story there. You can go in and recap those. Whitesburg Christian Academy, the girls, they're going to play for a 1A, 3A state championship later today. They're going to face defending champion Trinity Presbyterian at 5 o'clock over at John Hunt Park because they knock off Mars Hill Bible yesterday 2-1. Maddie Weeks scores the go-ahead goal at the 72nd mark to give Whitesburg Christian Academy the lead for good yesterday. The Warriors are 14-5-1 heading into the state championship game. Again, they'll play Trinity Presbyterian today at 5 o'clock. The East Limestone girls, they get a win as they punch their ticket to the state championship title game. They get a win over Westbrook Christian yesterday, 2-0. To move in, they're going to face off against, they're going to be aiming for their first state soccer title. They got to take on Indian Springs today. Indian Springs got by St. James 4-3 in overtime. So you've got East Limestone and Whitesburg Christian Academy girls playing for state championships today. Russellville gets a win yesterday over Crossville, 3-2 in 2 overtimes. The Russellville boys are into the state title game. Now coming up tonight over at John Hunt Park, it is a busy day. Let's just say that. Now coming up later this evening, the Huntsville boys will take on, they're going to be in semifinal action. They're going to take on Oak Mountain today at 3 o'clock, not tonight, 3 o'clock. Oak Mountain and Huntsville today at 3. Then at 5, again, you got Whitesburg Christian Academy girls taking on Trinity Presbyterian. Russellville will take on Indian Springs for a 5A boys state championship game. Collinsville will take on Bayside Academy and 1A, 3A boys. That'll be at 7 o'clock. And then you got East Limestone girls and Indian Springs girls at 7 o'clock tonight for the state championship in 4A, 5A girls. So, like I said, plenty of soccer going on. We had plenty of high school baseball going on last night as well. Semifinal action going on. We're going to talk more baseball coming up later in the show. Hazel Green, head coach. Oh, man, we have got so much stuff going on. Mitchell Wright's going to join the show at 7:25 as we preview tonight's Hazel Green Hartzell series. But yesterday, we had a lot of series get underway because remember, they want to get these pitching lineups ready for the state tournament. The High School Athletic Association letting them play early so they can get that rest in. Lindsay Lane and Donahue meeting in 1A semifinal action. Lindsay Lane wins that series 2-0. Decatur Heritage taking on Mars Hill Bible in Class 2A semifinals. Decatur Heritage gets a win in Game 2 to force a Game 3. Mars Hill Bible won Game 1 16-11. Decatur Heritage Game 2 12-2. So we got a Game 3 tonight at 3:30 there. In Class 5A, Russellville and Madison Academy. We previewed this one yesterday. Madison Academy wins Game 1, 9-4. It's Russellville winning Game 2, 13-10. So we have a Game 3 today at 5 o'clock. And then in Class 6A, Hazel Green and Hartselle, they'll kick off that series today at 4:30. Game 2 at 7. And then Game 3, if they need it, will be tomorrow at noon. So there you go. That is just your soccer and baseball. We got softball to get to as well. We will throughout the show. We got a lot of stuff to get to. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. That is how we get you started right out of the gates this morning. But again, if you want to see some of those soccer semifinals, want to read the recaps, head to 977ESPN.com. Scroll on down to sports stories there, and you can take advantage of all of that. So something kind of fun to look at, and I always love this. We get these way too early polls. I don't like going over the polls because they're way too early. They're going to change so much. But, Chad, we have these way too early betting lines from FanDuel.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, I'm going over some of these scores. And if this actually happens on some of these scores, oh my. Jimbo Fisher, and I bring this up because Drew has said over and over, and we have talked about it ad nauseum, Jimbo Fisher cannot have a 4-loss season, I don't think, this year at Texas A&M. He can't.
No, he can't.
Okay? So,
not with that recruiting class.
So, the big one that is circled, and to me, Alabama versus Texas A&M. We're going to go over all of these, but Alabama at Texas A&M. Right now, FanDuel has Alabama a 16-point favorite over Texas A&M. 16-point favorite over Texas A&M. Now, remember, this one shifts back to Bryant-Denny Stadium because last year Texas A&M got that epic win for them over Alabama, but then they, of course, going into the Alabama game, they come off a loss to Mississippi State, which you can't have, an unexplainable loss. If Nick Saban beats Jimbo Fisher by 16 points this year, what does that say? I mean, if that is the only loss for Texas A&M, okay, great.
Yeah.
But you're saying right now that we expect Texas A&M and Texas A&M fans expect themselves to be near the top of the SEC West. 16 points? That's a lot.
They obviously see something we don't see, or maybe they just don't believe in this recruiting class, or they don't believe in his coaching style, or they just think that Alabama is that more dominant coming into this game. So
Alabama has questions.
I would say if he does lose by 16, yeah, he's definitely on the hot seat, and he's definitely going to be, or he's just going to be talked about for the rest of the season for sure.
16 points. Alabama has, to me, I mean, they've got to get the offensive line 100%. That's the biggest X factor, and we've talked about that. Obviously, you got Bryce Young. You got plenty of talented wide receivers coming in, but now can they all get on the same page?
Yeah, you don't really know what the offensive line is going to look like. There's a lot of positions that are kind of up in the air, and you hope that Tyler Steen and new additions, maybe some younger guys that can probably make an impact before the season starts and right when the season starts, that, you know, I feel like a lot of times when it comes to Alabama, you always think that you're going to have this starting. I mean, I think every team comes in thinking they're going to have this starting O-line, and then you constantly have issues or injuries that kind of damper that, and then you kind of have to ask for the next guy up. And I think that's where you can give Alabama a lot of credit to be able to have so many different types of injuries, especially last year, and still make it to the national title game.
Oh, we talked about Alabama, Texas A&M. Alabama, a 16-point favorite right now over Texas A&M from FanDuel. And the expectations that Jimbo Fisher is going to have a great team doesn't say a lot right now if Alabama is a 16-point favorite over Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M comes out, they look ultra impressive in games 1, 2, or whatever. That number's going to change. That line is going to change, especially when we get closer to game time. I mean,
yeah.
could be a 7-6 point thing when we get
I
closer
wonder
to
if they're
game
just
time.
doing that for more speculation than anything.
Well-
get you. I mean, obviously, get us to talk about it. Get us.
Yes.
But what it.
But early on, though, it's telling me that they don't think too highly of Texas A&M because of this. Alabama has dominated the Tennessee series. We all know how long that streak is, right? Yes, we do. Right now, according to FanDuel, Alabama is only a 16.5 point favorite over Tennessee. They put Alabama as a 16-point favorite over Texas A&M and a 16.5 point favorite over Tennessee. So is Vegas trying to tell us right now, on paper, that Texas A&M and Tennessee are the same?
I don't know. I think maybe some away and home factors in that a little bit, because Alabama would have Texas A&M at home. So
Alabama is at Tennessee.
yeah, but I think the history is there.
The history. I'm just saying, on paper right now, you're telling me that
you should be embarrassed if you're going to be comparable to Tennessee right now. Well, not really. They're kind of a little. I mean, they have been doing well. Josh Heupel kind of has them on the right path, but to compare them to where Tennessee is right now and where Texas A&M is supposed to be,
maybe I'm just reading too much into the spread or something. I don't know, but I just kind of laughed at the fact that Tennessee and Alabama is a 16.5 point favorite, and Alabama and Texas A&M is a 16-point favorite. It's either saying they believe in Josh Heupel right now from what he could produce, and less on what Jimbo Fisher may produce.
Well, I mean, Jimbo Fisher's had one national title with Jameis Winston, and we haven't really seen it since. Yeah, he's gotten Texas A&M in the playoff, but at the end of the day, I mean, he hasn't finished, and he hasn't gotten over that hump. And like we said, we've seen Ed Orgeron do it. We've seen other coaches kind of like one and done it. Urban Meyer one and done it. I mean, Jimbo Fisher can't get this Texas A&M. He got a Florida State team that was very talented with tons of talent all over the place, but he can't even do it at Texas A&M, where they're all like Drew says on this show. That they said that they wanted to go to Texas A&M the whole time, and that's their dream school and all this other stuff, and he's able to recruit really well, and it has nothing to factor in of how that he got those recruits or anything like that, and not being able to really do anything with them.
All right, right now they list Tennessee as a 3.5 point favorite over Pitt. Alabama, a 14.5 point favorite on the road at Texas against Steve Sarkisian. Florida, a 4-point favorite at home against Kentucky this year. That could be an interesting game. Texas A&M, a 9-point favorite versus Miami. Ole Miss, a 9.5 point favorite at Georgia Tech, and that is a big one for Jeff Collins because he needs to get some wins at Georgia Tech in a very, very bad way. Penn State, they got to travel to Auburn this year. This will be an interesting one to see. Auburn played Penn State pretty tough there in Happy Valley, ultimately coming up short, though. Right now, Penn State, a 1-point favorite on the road at Auburn. Texas A&M, a 7.5 point favorite versus Arkansas. Alabama, a 17.5 point favorite at Arkansas. And then Florida, a 3-point favorite versus LSU. And LSU, a 2.5 point favorite versus Ole Miss. So, again, those are just some early odds that FanDuel has come out with some SEC games. Like I said, it's way early. Those lines, once the season starts, those are definitely going to change because once you get into the season, teams are going to play better, teams are going to play worse. So you're going to see those numbers change. 256-576-4977. That's the number of the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. You want to get in on the conversation this morning, feel free to do so. Do those numbers kind of shock you, surprise you, or anything outside of that? I don't know. To me, a little surprising there, but not overall surprising because Alabama's going to be heavy favorites, I think, in most of their games this year. If you look at that schedule, I don't see outside of Alabama facing a Georgia in the SEC title game, you're going to see a lot of double-digit favorites for Alabama heading in to the season. 256-576-4977. Other news real fast, and it was either $800,000. So if you had this choice, make $800,000. Now it's an interesting choice because you have name, image, and likeness. $800,000, play for the NBA's NBDL Developmental League, or the G League, as what you call it, or decide between Tennessee or Auburn. That was Julian Phillips's decision that he had to make. He was either weighing an $800,000 offer to play in the G League or head to Tennessee. Now, with name, image, and likeness, Julian Phillips, he was the number 12 overall player in the 2022 class, according to 24/7 Sports. He's the highest-ranked remaining available player in the class, not anymore, but he was the highest-ranked remaining player in the class. He had a choice to either head to the G League for $800,000 or head to Tennessee or Auburn. Now, he can probably make more. I don't know if he'll make over $800,000 in NIL money, but he has a shot to make more than that, maybe. But in the end, Julian Phillips commits to Tennessee yesterday. He's a wing player, commits to Tennessee, the number 12 overall player in the 2022 class, decides to head to Tennessee. And according to Julian Phillips, he says they recruited me the first time, and I had a good relationship with Coach Barnes and the rest of the staff. The second time around, it showed a lot that they really wanted him. He says the plan that he had coming in as a freshman, I think, is sometimes that I like a lot and something that I can do well within his system. Saying about Coach Barnes' system, he says he's coached a lot of great wings and had success with putting them in the NBA. Phillips is 6'8", 220 pounds. He ranks number 4 among the small forwards and number 1 overall in Missouri, where he attends Lynx Academy. So Tennessee getting a big commitment yesterday in Julian Phillips.
Wonder if Tennessee's going to pay more than the G League can, because originally he was supposed to go to LSU, and he was released from his letter of intent in March, based off of the Will Wade firing, and you kind of wonder what goes through, because isn't the main goal at the end of the day to make it, if you're really talented, you're a really good recruit, and you're trying to make it to the NBA. I would think at a younger age, possibly going to the G League, because you got the Jordan Pooles of the world that can play in the G League for a few years and come out of nowhere, and right now he's a huge staple on the Golden State Warriors. So I don't understand, but I guess at the end of the day, if you can make $1 million instead of $800,000 for playing college and maybe finishing college, or which I doubt.
Well,
he'll probably be there for a 1 year,
1
and
year,
he'll be gone.
2 years.
I would have, if I was him, I probably would have taken the G League offer, because obviously if you're good enough, you're good enough. So
yeah.
You're going to be found whether you go to college or not.
All right, so the Auburn Tigers miss out on Julian Phillips, but they did get some good news yesterday. We'll fill you in as the show gets on from there, but we need to get our first break in, because when we come back, Mitchell Wright will join the show, head coach of the Hazel Green Trojans, as we preview tonight's Hazel Green Hartzell baseball matchup.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Not much to it so far this morning. Traffic continuing to build across the valley, but we don't have any wrecks or stalls or traffic signal problems. You be careful. That costs 92 pounds in 6 months on the plan. A free hormone quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update. Access free for 30 days with no credit card required. Visit vsin.com/free month to sign up now.
Stanley Cup Playoffs first round in the East. The Rangers down 3-2 to the Penguins. New York a -125 money line favorite in Game 6 in Pittsburgh. Penguins +105, 6.5 the total. Capitals a +160 home underdog in Game 6 against the Panthers at -185. Florida up 3 games to 2, 6.5 the total. And the Flames -160 at the Stars at +140 in Game 6 in the West, 5.5 the total. Flames lead the series 3-2. Game 6 tonight in Milwaukee between the Celtics and Bucks. Boston down 3-2 and a 1.5-point underdog, 211 the total. In the West semifinals, the Warriors up 3-2 over the Grizzlies. Golden State an 8.5-point favorite in Game 6, 217.5 the set total.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The world champs are back. The Braves are out to defend their world championship. And behind Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, Dansby Swanson, Max Fried, and this loaded 2022 roster, a repeat is within reach.
There goes Ozzie, 2-2 on the way, hit well. Deep center field. Might have ourselves a tie ball game. You betcha.
And we'll bring you every huge moment of the Braves 2022 season right here on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on 2 services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
Gunner's Landing is one of the Tennessee Valley's finest golf experiences. Just 35 minutes from downtown Huntsville, Gunner's Landing's 18-hole championship jewel is open to the public 7 days a week. Located in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, Gunner's Landing offers you a golf experience like no other. With beautiful Lake Gunnersville views throughout the round, Gunner's Landing is golf the way nature intended. Gunner's Landing's club repair shop offers a full range of services, including re-gripping and adjusting the lofts and lies of your clubs, even putters. Since the work is done in-house, your clubs will be returned to you in a timely manner. Unmatched in the North Alabama area. It is Gunner's Landing. Schedule your tee time today at gunnerslandinggolf.com. That's gunnerslandinggolf.com.
Bring that playoff intensity every day to our shows.
Bring it on, Chop. Let's go.
Okay, maybe just for Drew DeArmond.
Ding, me.
Listen for Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew. Weekday mornings starting at 7 on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now more of Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on your home for Crimson Tide Sports 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
Well, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone on a Friday morning, 7:28 on a Friday. Welcome back, everyone. Our area gets started tonight, or this evening, I guess you could say, at 4:30. Hazel Green will make that drive to Hartselle. And wow, want to talk about a fantastic baseball environment. That'll be tonight in Hartselle. Wealth Management Championship a few years ago. Perennial, a Hartselle team who has the pedigree that they have. I'm sure you're anxious to get out there and play.
We are, man. We've all been, after last Friday when we were fortunate enough to beat Chelsea and we knew who we were playing that Friday, it all you could kind of feel the nerves building up a little bit for everyone, and we were ready to play on Saturday. But had to wait our 6 days, and then we'll be ready to go tonight.
Well, let's talk about the playoff journey so far for Hazel Green. You open up with a series against Minor. You get through there.
I think they have somewhere between 5 and 7 guys that are going to play in the SEC in a couple of years or next year. 3 of them are on the mound. And then they've got a couple of hitters as well. So it's just playing our game and playing as hard as we can. We know that they're going to be able to pitch it. We know they're going to be able to hit it, and they can play defense too. So we've got to do the exact same thing. And ultimately, if we play harder than they do and we play our game as best as we can, we feel pretty good about it. But we certainly won't take this opponent lightly because, like I said, I think they're somewhere in the 30 win column, and that starts with communicating with each other, and then it kind of goes into the actual physical aspect of things. We love to go higher tempo. We like to work. We like to move. We like to take really good swings at pitches that are in the strike zone, no matter what location or what pitch they may be. We like to get on the bases and try to speed things up and move guys up at least one base. We're going to keep playing our game.
You took over a program. Head coach Frankie Perez kind of started the foundation, kind of started rebuilding that Hazel Green program. You come in and kind of helped elevate it a little bit more. What's that been like coming in and taking over for Coach Perez and kind of trying to get Hazel Green again back up to that next level?
Well, I'm so thankful for Coach Perez. He's done a great job and just helping mentor me through this process and just kind of giving me some ins and outs and just being a really constant, supporter of me in this program. But this team is really good, and they play hard, and they know how to play the game. I'm not real sure that if Coach Perez was coaching or if I was coaching, we'd be in a different position. I will tell you that we have 3 assistant coaches, 2 of which were with Coach Perez last year and a couple of years before that. And all 3 of those guys are great baseball guys that coach hard. They let the guys play, and they give them enough of a relationship aspect to where the guys really love them and trust them. I could get dunked at the plate meeting before the first game, and I wouldn't be upset at all because I know that those 3 guys can do this just as good or better than I could.
Well, what did you kind of learn from him? But what have you learned, and how have you grown as a head coach?
That's a great one because I take notes on my phone all the time, and that note is probably 10 pages long now of things that I've learned. So just having to pick out one thing, strength is very, very important.
Yeah.
We get in the weight room. When we were in the off season, we were in the weight room 4 days a week. even up until this week, we were in the weight room twice a week. And if we're fortunate to move on, we'll be in the weight room twice a week next week. Making sure guys take care of their bodies. They're constantly getting stronger. And then the mental and emotional side of things is that guys need to know that you love them. They need to know that you care about what's going on, not just on the field, but what's going on in the classroom and in their personal lives. And that's what we all strive to do as educators and coaches. But this group has been really receptive in that relationship aspect.
Getting back to tonight's Hartzell series, a couple keys, 2 or 3 keys for this series that need to go your way for you guys to come out on top.
We need to strike first. We need to. You feel good if we score early and often. We feel good about it. Our starting pitching will be a big thing. Is trying to stretch those guys out and getting really good quality starts out of them. And then the third one will be the X factor. Will be how do our older guys keep their perspective on, hey, this might be my last go at it. I'm going to give it everything I've got, and trying to find that balance of, well, I want to do everything right now, and I want to hit a grand slam, and I want to do all this stuff, and they get too big, and they don't have the quality at bats they need to be. It's just kind of monitoring those seniors and making sure that, hey, you can do everything you want to do and can do without having to, break your back trying to swing right now.
Yeah, and how do you control the emotions? When you go over to Hartzell, I mean, it's going to be a packed house. I mean, there's going to be plenty of people in attendance there. This is a great baseball environment. This is why you play the game, really. I mean, for nights like tonight. But how do you control that? How do you kind of keep everybody grounded a little bit, not trying to win the game at the first at bat, not trying to win the game on the very first pitch?
These guys have been really receptive to how us as coaches carry ourselves. So we like to give them a model. If we are cool, calm, and collected, even though we may be, kind of like a duck on water and we're kicking our feet like crazy, but if they see that we're poised and we're confident and we're collected, they tend to do the same thing. And every so often we may have to pull a guy off and give him a hug and try to get him to relax a little bit. But, we have to play that pitch by pitch, and we'll remind them of that.
Coach Chad Gwathney here. Speak on the community of Hazel Green and how much backing this baseball team has had this entire season and through the playoffs.
Chad, man, it's been truly incredible. I grew up in Buckhorn, so I was very familiar with the Hazel Green community. I've always known that they travel in droves. They do a really good job for away games and home games, but man, we have parents and community members that are wanting to buy buses and meals and all this stuff, and it's just take the load off of us and make sure that our guys are taken care of. And the fact that I think at Chelsea last weekend, where it's a 2.5 hour drive from Hazel Green, I felt like we had more fans there than they did.
Wow.
And it wasn't just alumni that aren't even playing, or we had parents of kids that would see that, because I felt like that was a really great example of how awesome this community is.
All right, it all begins tonight, Coach. You don't have to wait much longer.
Awesome. I can't wait. I can tell you that.
All right, well, best of luck tonight. Best of luck in Game 2, and best of luck to the Hazel Green Trojans, and have some fun tonight out there playing some baseball.
We certainly will, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right. Mitchell Wright, head coach of the Hazel Green Trojans. Hazel Green getting ready to take on Hartzell in a semifinal showdown in Class 6A baseball. It's going to be a fantastic environment over there. I don't know if you've ever been to a Hartzell baseball game, but it's going to be fun. We talk about how the environment is at Russellville. It'll be equally as good tonight at Russellville for that series, or Hartzell for that series with Hartzell and Hazel Green. All right, let's get that break in. When we come back and wrap up Hour 1, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Not much to it so far this morning. Traffic continuing to build across the valley, but we don't have any wrecks or stalls or traffic signal problems. You be careful. That can change quickly, especially on a Friday morning. 20/30 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Greg lost 92 pounds in 6 months on the plan. A free hormone quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Outdoor season is coming. Can't wait.
Here at Brooks & Collier, neither can we. Outdoor season is also grilling season.
And we have plenty of grills and smokers in stock from Traeger, Blaze, and Big Green Egg.
There's the greenhouse, new indoor items and home furnishings as well.
Whatever it takes. Browse over 2 acres of furnishings. Can't wait.
How about you? North Alabama's indoor and outdoor living headquarters for over 75 years.
813 Meridian Street and at brooksandcollier.com.
America First Alabama PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
The woke mob is growing. Gas prices are soaring. The liberal cancel culture is trying to take over Washington. There's only one thing that North Alabama can do to fight back. We need to send a Trump-tested warrior to battle back. We need someone with a strong military backbone who will not be intimidated. We need Republican Casey Wardynski. Casey Wardynski has a proven track record of standing up to the liberal mob. President Trump asked Wardynski to serve as his Assistant Secretary of the Army. General Michael Flynn said, "Rarely does our country have the opportunity to elect true patriots like Casey Wardynski. We're all fed up with the liberal direction of America. We cannot afford to let career politicians and their special interest friends grow the swamp. It's time to drain the swamp. Trump-tested Republican Casey Wardynski, the only choice we have for Congress."
Did you know that your car, truck, or SUV may be worth over 30 or 40% more than it was last year? It's true. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and we'd love your trade-in for a personalized custom factory order on a 2022 Explorer, Expedition, Ranger, or F-150. You'll get exactly the color and options you want, and Woody Anderson Ford will save you 5% off MSRP, plus you'll get any additional Ford factory rebates. Or if you need a new ride today, choose a Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicle. We have over 100 to choose from. Our Ford Gold certified or low mileage, gently used vehicles with great warranties. They've passed a 172-point inspection by certified technicians, come with our 24-hour roadside assistance, plus a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. At Woody Anderson Ford, whether it's a new order or a pre-owned, we promise to always do the right thing. Corner of George and Sparkman, hope to see you soon.
With a new face at first and some of the best arms in the National League, this 2022 Braves team is loaded up for another run at the crown.
Swung on, lifted high and deep to right field, headed for the chop house, heads up out there, gone, home run!
Tonight, it's another huge National League matchup at Truist Park as the Braves take on Fernando Tatis Jr. and the San Diego Padres. Braves radio's on the air at 6:05 Eastern, 5:05 Central on the Braves Radio Network.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
And welcome back, Talkin Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And any time that we can take a shot at the NCAA, we try to on this show. Just because it's fun to do and it's easy to do. Whether it be name, image, and likeness, dropping the ball on name, image, and likeness, or whatever it may be, it's usually easy to do when it comes to the NCAA. And if Drew was here this morning, he would say the exact same thing, that they're asleep at the wheel, yada, yada, yada. Well, Deion Sanders, or Coach Prime, as he likes to be called, Didn't hesitate either to throw shade at the NCAA. Not shade.
Yeah.
But he just flat out said they have a problem. Here's Coach Prime.
NCAA, anyway, you got a problem. See, when you start paying athletes like they're professionals, you get athletes acting like they're professionals. And you don't have staffs large enough and equipped enough to handle a young man with money. Let me go deeper. Handle a young man that's making more money than some of the coaches on staff. You got a real problem. So I suggest to you to allow college teams to hire more qualified men, that could handle these young men that's getting this money.
That's Coach Prime telling us. I mean, and really,
he's making sense.
That is perfect sense.
Yeah, he's making sense. He's not just talking about himself instead of his team, and he's not like, trying to make it all about himself rather than. I like it. I enjoy that. I mean, I agree with the man, because at the end of the day, like, he's right. I mean, these guys are turning into professional employees. I mean, like,
well, soon.
Like,
I mean,
literally, they're employees.
Well, and that is the thing.
They're paying these guys.
That's what the That's the next step. And what's going to happen is these guys, these athletes, not guys, I don't want to say guys, because it's athletes, because there are ladies that, while they may not have as big of NIL deals, they still have NIL deals, okay? So it's these college athletes that have these NIL deals. The next phase, the next thing that is coming is that they are going to be state employees. Every one of these individuals that take these NIL deals at these schools, there is on the table whether or not they want to classify them as state employees. If they become state employees, this whole game changes. Completely changes.
And my thing is talking about more qualified coaches. So I guess that's when you're kind of talking about the do away of so many assistant coaches and everything like that, and helpers or whatever you want to call them. I think you just get more grad assistants that maybe want to stick around the program, and guys that maybe have been around to kind of handle those guys because they know them.
You need smart. You
can have a couple overseers or something.
No, you need a Wes Neighbors.
Yeah.
You need a financial manager.
Yeah.
You need
former player too.
You need guys that can come in and set things up to where they can manage their money, where they can keep them straight. Because you're going to have, we talk about it all the time, guys get into the NFL, 22, 23-year-old guys getting into the NFL, and they can't handle making $20 million a year. Now you've got 18-year-olds, 17, 18-year-olds getting NIL deals and not being able to handle it. All right, let's go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Johnny on his cell is with us this morning. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning. They cannot make these kids state employees. The money is not coming from the state of Alabama. It's not coming from any of the states.
No.
The money is coming from collectives and name, image, and likeness deals.
Nope.
Or where they actually have a contract with like Milo's Tea.
Yeah.
So you can't make these kids state employees when just because they collect money from collectives or NIL deals.
Nope. That's what they're weighing.
That's not the same. Well, they can weigh it all they want, but unless the money comes from a state coffer, from a state employee, and because then they would be required to give these kids health insurance. They'd be required to all the other things that come with being a state employee. And these kids are not state employees. They are student athletes who are cashing in on their name, image, and likeness from social media accounts, from collectives. And it is a pay for play. That's why it was ludicrous for the coach at Texas A&M to go, well, the money didn't have anything to do with us getting 8 5-stars when we only had 4 5-stars in the previous 4 years combined.
Right.
It's 100%.
Legislation to classify athletes as state employees?
The only thing that would be that could remotely be considered a state employee benefit would be there's anybody that wants to put these kids as state employees from NIL deals. They're going down the wrong legal path, and it's truly when it's the first time the NCAA tries to slap one of these schools for paying these kids, they're going to lose their antitrust exemption because they don't have a leg to stand on. They let Pandora's box get open, and now it's open, and now they can't try to go back and say, we're going to consider these collectives as boosters. That's just bull. Yeah. Well, these old codgers are fed up with the fact that these kids are getting all this money, and the money that would normally go into these schools and institutions is now going to the collectives to put the kids on the field.
Yeah, and I think the NCAA is –
and that is the rub at the end of the day is that money that was previously going to these institutions to pay for buildings and pay for all the other things that the institutions have been getting, that money is now going to collectives and putting kids on the field. And that, at the end of the day, that's what the NCAA is upset about. But the minute they try to clamp down on these kids, there'll be another lawsuit. It'll take 4 or 5 years to go through the court. But at the end of the day, they're going to lose, and then Congress is going to slap their antitrust exemptions out, and the NCAA really will be crying, woe is me.
Yeah, and the NCAA stood around, and I think the NCAA
Look, Beth, I love you as an athlete, buddy, but at the end of the day, when you start putting this kind of when you put name, image, and likeness, no, I knew it immediately the blue bloods were going to get bluer. Yep. I mean, it just makes sense. And the University of Alabama quarterback is worth more money than the quarterback at Boise State because of the position he plays and the prominence that it brings and the fact that Nike is pushing Alabama.
Yep. Good stuff, Johnny. Thanks for the call. That is hour number 1 in the books. When we come back, it's going to be 8 o'clock. Phone lines will stay open to you, 256-576-4977, as we break down what Deion Sanders mentioned that the NCAA has a problem, that they need to get more guys in there to handle these kids making this money. Almost like professional athletes. They need some help. Help us break that down. Plus, we've got win-loss projection totals, over-unders for the year. And University of Iowa Athletics Director Gary Barta weighs in on NIL as well. Oh, and the transfer portal. Leave it to somebody from Iowa to say something stupid.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Madison Academy football. Stop into the University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com to view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in a Kia. Go Mustangs!
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Not much to it so far this morning. Traffic continuing to build across the valley, but we don't have any wrecks or stalls or traffic signal problems. You be careful. That can change quickly, especially on a Friday morning. 20/30 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Greg lost 92 pounds in 6 months on the plan. A free hormone quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny sky this afternoon. A couple of isolated showers or thunderstorms can't be ruled out across the Tennessee Valley. Most of us probably going to end up staying dry. High temperatures climbing into the low and mid-80s. Dropping into the lower 60s as we head into the overnight. A partly sunny to mostly cloudy sky for your Saturday afternoon. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are going to remain possible across the Tennessee Valley. Still looks like temperatures climbing into the lower 80s, dropping into the lower 60s through the overnight. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Heads up, sports bettors. Right now you can try VSiN All Access free for 30 days with no credit card required. Visit vsin.com/free month to sign up now.
Game 6 tonight in Milwaukee between the Celtics and Bucks. Boston down 3-2 and a 1.5-point underdog, 2-11 the total. In the West semifinals, the Warriors up 3-2 over the Grizzlies. Golden State an 8.5-point favorite in Game 6, 217.5 the set total. Stanley Cup Playoffs first round in the East, the Rangers down 3-2 to the Penguins. New York a -125 moneyline favorite in Game 6 in Pittsburgh. Penguins +105, 6.5 the total. Capitals a +160 home underdog in Game 6 against the Panthers at -185. Florida up 3 games to 2, 6.5 the total. And the Flames -160 at the Stars at +140 in Game 6 in the West, 5.5 the total. Flames lead the series 3-2.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, just like that, it is hour 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Drew DeArmond not with us today. Hopefully we'll get Drew back next week. We're counting on it. So hopefully we'll get the big guy back here in the chair. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of stuff to get through, a lot of stuff to break down here in hour number 2. Blake Lovell's going to join us a little bit later in the show. We're going to talk some SEC baseball. Alabama and Auburn meeting this weekend in a key SEC series, really for both teams. For Auburn, it's much about trying to keep your NCAA resume, kind of keep, I guess you could say, the chances of being a good seed there, and in the SEC tournament as well. Right now, Auburn sits 13-11, Arkansas 16-8. They can't catch the Hogs, but they can kind of work their way up either maybe into one of those spots where you don't have to play in an elimination game in the SEC tournament. Alabama trying to stay in the conversation of making the SEC tournament. Right now, the Tide 10-14. Mississippi State 9-15. Ole Miss 10-14. Alabama needs really, you would think, to take 2 out of 3 against Auburn, and they need to have success in their final series against, I believe, Arkansas down the stretch. So Alabama has a lot of work to do. Auburn has a lot of work to do. They meet each other in Auburn for a 3-game series starting tonight. And don't forget, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, your home for that series. Make sure you download the app today so you can take us with us 24/7, including tonight's Alabama-Auburn series down on the Plains. So Blake Lovell will join us in a little bit as we talk some SEC baseball. We stay in the SEC. Aaron Suttle, Seth Emerson on The Athletic. This is a topic that's going to be conversed on quite a bit, because the ACC right now is looking at doing away with divisions when it comes to college football. The Big 12 is looking at, right now they don't have divisions, but the Big 12, because they're going to add 4 more schools, because for a short time, the Big 12, I think, will have 16 schools because they will have Texas and Oklahoma with the addition of Cincinnati and UCF. So they'll have, and BYU, they'll have 16 schools. So they're looking at going to divisions. The SEC has divisions. We all know that. The SEC East and the SEC West. When they add Texas and Oklahoma, what will it look like? What will the SEC look like? Will they keep divisions? Will they not keep divisions? Will they go to the pod scheduling? Will they go to this? Will they go to that? There's a lot of stuff to do when Texas and Oklahoma are expected to join the SEC in 2025.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I mean, I don't know if I really like the pod system, to be honest with you. I like the way that the ACC is kind of doing it with, you get your 3 favorite opponents and then you play 5 one year and 5 another year. I think that'd be, I think that's something for the fans to see.
Well, here is something to keep in mind.
Rather than what we care about, whether, what the divisions look like.
Keep this in mind. Right now, under the current SEC structure, which is 8 SEC games scheduled, 2 divisions, and you get your crossover opponents.
Right.
Okay? Georgia has played Texas A&M once since Texas A&M has joined the league. Georgia has never visited College Station, Texas, to play a game against Texas A&M since Texas A&M has joined the league. Now, Alabama is in that division, Auburn's in the division, so obviously they face Texas A&M every year. But Georgia has yet to play at College Station, Texas. Under the current format, you get these too far, too few between cross-division matchups. I know there are people, Jeff from the Borough, that think it's okay. I mean, we hadn't seen LSU and Kentucky play in Lexington in I don't know how many years before this year. So I don't like the way that the SEC structure is right now. Now, a 9-game conference schedule is much more likely to happen than it was pre-expansion, Aaron Suttles points out in his article. He says the SEC for years resisted expanding beyond 8 conference games, instead encouraging teams to schedule marquee non-conference matchups. But when you add Texas and Oklahoma, a 9-game conference schedule, he says, makes much more sense to go to 9 games, especially since those 2 schools already had series scheduled with SEC teams. Georgia and Alabama have series already planned with both Tennessee and Oklahoma. So it makes much more sense to go to 9 conference games. Now, Nick Saban and Kirby Smart have been advocating for 9 conference games for I don't know how long.
I think Nick Saban wanted it when he came in. He just hadn't talked about it until it got finally to that point.
Right.
And when we talk about like matchups we haven't seen before, I mean, how much did we love when Alabama? I mean, we didn't love. I guess college football world loved when South Carolina upset Alabama, and then they didn't play them for 9 years. And before that, it was another 9 years or another 10 years. So, it's these types of rivalries or these types of games that have a lot of intrigue. I mean, who wouldn't want to see like Spencer Rattler versus Bryce Young? I mean, that would be a great matchup. So, I mean, you would want these types of matchups throughout the year.
So the SEC is weighing its options right now. I mean, they are sitting down, and while we say, okay, 2025, and it's May 13th of 2022, you look at it right now and you're saying, well, they got plenty of time to figure this out. In reality, they don't have as much time as you think because you release those schedules in 2024. So really you're down to about 2 years of trying to figure this out. Now the SEC has not decided yet on completely doing away with divisions. They still may keep the divisions. And in his article, Aaron Suttles and Seth Emerson point out that, okay, here is what you could do, and this has been discussed, and that is moving Alabama and Auburn to the east and then shifting Missouri to the west. And where you would put Texas and Oklahoma, you would put them in the west.
So then we just continue to Well, I mean, if you do that like that, I guess eventually you could get more Georgia, Texas A&M, but you would still get all of those games obviously out there, and then Texas A&M might still be that rotating game for Georgia or something like that.
Yeah, you would have a 9-game conference schedule, keep your divisions, do a 9-game conference schedule, move Alabama and Auburn to the East.
Yeah.
You would still have your Iron Bowl every year, for sure,
Yeah.
because it would be a divisional game. And you would have Texas and Oklahoma joining the West.
And see, that would kind of like – that's the thing about, I guess, the Alabama rivalries that, like, I guess over the years we've kind of more gravitated towards that Texas A&M game. You know, I guess the Ole Miss game has always been a game people want to jot down every single year. So, like, you're going to lose some of those West games, and you would hope that they would keep the core West games if Alabama did go over to the East.
So what they've also discussed is, now this is where it gets loopy, a scenario where they do 4 divisions of 4 teams each. But one source, they didn't think that had enough traction to make it. The attraction of doing that, they say, would be that the lack of stigma for finishing 16th in a 16-team league. But their basketball counterparts could tell you that they've been dealing with, okay, pods have also been discussed, which essentially would be unofficial divisions of 4 each for scheduling purposes, but the standings would be 1 through 16.
Yeah, like I can see like the
But
first one.
that would be
Yeah.
that would be hard to do because I guess it'd be like basketball where not everybody plays everybody, I don't believe. But still,
No, sometimes they don't. Yeah, they might. Well,
they
sometimes
may play
they may only
once,
play once.
and they only play twice. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes like Alabama and Auburn played twice. Alabama, Kentucky played twice. But, I mean, you may only see one team once in basketball. In football, though, you wouldn't see everybody.
My thing is with the divisions, too, it just seems like the 4-team divisions, the 4-team divisions, sounds like a lot like the NFL, where you're going to have every year, number 1's going to play number 1 on the other side, and then number 2 will play number 2, 3 will play number 3, 4 and play number 4, all in the different divisions every year. But then obviously they would play the 3 in their division, and then they would go out and maybe play 2 other divisions. So maybe that format could work kind of like the NFL format where, every year you might benefit depending on where you finish the following year. If you finish 3rd, you might have a better schedule the following year based off of who may have finished in the same division.
So the SEC, they have the SEC meetings next month in Destin. The goal there is to come out of those meetings not with an ironclad plan, but the goal of those meetings in March, will be April, May, be June, is to come out of those meetings with a plan. That's not a hard deadline. They put it, Aaron Suttle's saying in the article, it's not a hard deadline. But at some point, the schools need to know what the plan will be as they schedule for 2025 and beyond. See, it goes back to what I was saying. While we say it's a lot of time to go before they've got to come up with this ironclad plan, it's not really a lot of time because schools have got to get these schedules.
Yeah.
And you're already looking to non-conference games in 2025. You're already looking to what you want to do. They did put in the article that the one thing that is not going away, and some conferences may want to do away with them. The SEC has the original one. They started it first, and that is the conference championship game. Multiple people told the SEC championship game is not going away. Last year's Alabama-Georgia SEC championship game drew 17.9 million viewers. That was the highest-rated non-bowl game of the 2021 college football season. So the SEC championship game is a cash cow.
Yeah.
It is a money maker.
And you want to do away with that.
And you're not going to do away with that.
No.
Regardless of whether or not you expand the college football playoffs. And here's the thing. Right now, we don't know where that stands. And Greg Sankey in this article, Greg Sankey's perfectly content with the way the college football playoff stands. He says in the article, I'll say it clearly today, we can stay at 4. this conference will thrive at 4, period.
Because it benefits the SEC every single time, it seems like, even with the divisions.
Well, they're the only conference to have at least one team in the college football playoffs since it began in 2014. Twice, 2017 and 2021, the SEC has had 2 teams in the college football playoffs. Both participants this year in the college football playoffs and the title game were from the SEC. So regardless of the pods, regardless of the scheduling, regardless of what happens, we do know we're going to keep the SEC championship game. We just don't know what the SEC is going to do in the future.
And the thing with pods and the thing with maybe not playing certain opponents certain years, what if one opponent starts getting, is better? Then when you start expanding the playoff, then you start seeing 3 to 4 SEC teams in the playoff, and no one's going to like that when 4 out of the 8 teams in the playoff are SEC teams. And
Jimbo Fisher
and they're clearly the dominant ones.
Jimbo Fisher might like seeing Alabama and the rest of everybody move out of the West because he may think that he could have a better shot of winning the SEC West.
And he better if LSU stays in the West and Brian Kelly's on the rise, and you never know with Arkansas, and you just don't know.
Well, the good thing is we know Texas A&M and Texas will finally play each other. I mean, ever since Texas A&M left the Big 12, Texas and Texas A&M have not played each other. So we know in 2025 or 2026 we're going to finally get to see those two play. There is a lot of bad blood between those two schools. So we stay with the SEC. Do I want to stay? Yeah, we'll stay with the SEC real fast because 24/7 Sports put worst-case scenarios, worst-case projections on every SEC team out there as far as records go. And it's kind of interesting because it does kind of show you the expectations that they think for every SEC team this year. For Vanderbilt, 5-7 is their best case scenario. 1-11 is the worst. They're Vanderbilt. I mean, best case scenario they say is Vanderbilt winning 2 games in the SEC. Vanderbilt did not win an SEC game this year. So if Vanderbilt wins 2 games, that's pretty good. Mississippi State, they say best case in the conference is 4-4, 8-4 overall. Worst 1-7 in the league. If that is the latter, Brian Harsin won't be there for year 3. That is for sure. Alabama 12-0, 8-0 in the league is the best. 10-2, 7-1 is the worst case scenario. But if you're looking at Alabama's schedule and you're saying, okay, in the league, the worst case is that they're going to drop 1 game in conference play. I mean, is that going to come from an SEC West team? Is that going to come from an LSU, a Texas A&M, an Auburn, an Arkansas? I mean, you got to wonder where they say Alabama will trip up in the league this year.
So the worst thing would be losing to Texas. Obviously, because that would be one of the losses.
Yeah, 2 losses.
Because you're not going to lose to Utah State or La Monroe, hopefully.
One is a non-conference game.
Yeah.
One is a conference game is where they're saying Alabama will lose.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would have to be the Texas game, correct? I mean, it couldn't be any of the other cupcake games, I would think.
That would be the Texas.
Yeah,
yes. So they're saying they're projecting worst case scenario. Alabama loses to Texas and 1 more conference game. Or not 1 more conference game, 1 conference game.
Well, just the one. That would be like the worst. Yeah, the worst case.
That's
scenario.
Worst case. Now for Georgia, it's the same way. 12-0, 8-0 is the best. 10-2, 7-1. So they're saying Georgia is going to get tripped up. Worst case, Georgia loses just 1 conference game this year.
Ooh,
they're in the keep in mind it's the SEC East, so I don't know who Georgia's crossover is this year.
Oregon.
Oregon. I know one of them's going to be Auburn because that is every year.
Literally from the worst case scenario, is saying coming off of a stunning defeat at the hands of Oregon in the opener, that would be big for Georgia. That would especially at the beginning of the season. The way that everyone was kind of doubting Georgia kind of at that first game against Clemson and the way that it was such a low-scoring game, but then their defense was able to clearly, carry them the rest of the season. So
Jimbo Fisher, by the way, in case you're wondering, 11-1, 7-1, best case scenario. 8-4, 5-3, worst case.
Wouldn't best case scenario be undefeated? Like, why would best case be one loss? Because if you have the greatest, recruiting class and
well, they're saying that Jimbo Fisher is going to get tripped up again in conference play. So I would assume that's the Alabama loss. I would assume they lose to Alabama. But worst case scenario, once again, Jimbo Fisher 8-4.
But
we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Jimbo Fisher's an 8-4 coach.
Well, and then that's the thing. It's like when we talk about Mississippi State's, worst case scenario, if they didn't beat Texas A&M and a few others last year, that would have been a flip. It would have been probably the exact opposite. And when we're looking at Texas A&M, when they're going up against Miami, Arkansas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Florida, and LSU, that's going to be a nice little stretch of opponents that, maybe they possibly could slip up. Maybe they could pull an Alabama where they catch a Texas A&M, at the right time.
Those are just some fun things. Oh, those are always fun to talk about, but for a minute there, because you can have fun with that all you want. But we need to get a break in SEC baseball. Tennessee and Georgia played yesterday. Tennessee gets a win over Georgia 5-2. That was your Thursday night SEC game. Tonight, the rest of the SEC gets cranked up. Blake Lovell will join us. We'll preview that, and we'll slip in a recruiting basketball question for Blake Lovell or two.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Not much to it so far this morning. Traffic continuing to build across the valley, but we don't have any wrecks or stalls or traffic signal problems. You be careful. That can change quickly, especially on a Friday morning. 2030 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Greg lost 92 pounds in 6 months on the plan. A free hormone quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
If you need a car, McCurry Motors is ready to put you in a quality vehicle, and in-house financing is available. If you have a job, McCurry Motors will work with you even if you have a bankruptcy, divorce, or bad credit. Visit McCurrySaysYes.com. Every car comes with a warranty, and they report to the credit bureau. With 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens, call 256-230-0232, or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville. Call 256-713-0575.
Isn't the story of the prodigal son an amazing story? Basically, a rowdy boy who literally wished his father dead ran away and consumed his wealth with hard and fast living. Yet the father looked for his return every day, and when the boy got tired of eating pig slop, he decided to return. What did the father do? As soon as he saw that boy, he ran to him, threw his arms around him, and killed the fatted calf for a great celebration. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of the Cross Point Church. If you're looking for a church home, come see us, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Tuesday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
In 1982, Bob Baumhauer introduced Alabama to the Buffalo Wild Wing, and quite frankly, we've never been the same. Back then, it was Wings and Things in Tuscaloosa, but now, 40 years later, after 4 name changes, Baumhauer's Victory Grill is the #1 sports-themed restaurant in the state. Bob's Alabama Hot Chicken is something that has to be tried to believe, plus the new Bam Bam Chicken and the Louisiana-style Go Fish, a whitefish over rice topped with shrimp etouffee. And Baumhauer's is fighting inflation with some new affordable favorites. Visit Baumhauer's on the South Parkway today. What's better than Valley Equipment Rental? 2 Valley Equipment Rentals, and that's just what we have now. The original on the South Memorial Parkway between Drake and Airport Road, and their second location on North Memorial Parkway just north of Winchester Road. Valley Equipment is locally owned and has more skid steers, excavators, and lifts than anyone in the area, plus all the small tools that you need to get the job done like a pro. And if you are a pro, you need to check out the new North location now because Valley Equipment has what you need. Learn more at valleyequipmentrents.com.
The world champs are back. The Braves are out to defend their world championship. And behind Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, Dansby Swanson, Max Fried, and this loaded 2022 roster, a repeat is within reach.
There goes Ozzie, 2-2 on the way, hit well. Deep center field. Might have ourselves a tie ball game. You betcha.
And we'll bring you every huge moment of the Braves 2022 season right here on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network.
Local sports is covered right here.
Well, appreciate what you guys do for sports, but also for high school sports and taking time to talk to us. That means a lot, and appreciate what you guys do and appreciate you having us on.
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to Talking Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, 8:26 on a Friday morning. And need to talk a little SEC baseball, but we also need to talk some SEC basketball as well, because Auburn got some news yesterday. Tennessee got some news yesterday. Tennessee baseball was in action. We got a lot to get to. And the only person we could think of to kind of combine all of that is Blake Lovell, who covers it for 14 Southeastern, as well as Blue Ribbon Yearbook. He's been on the show quite a bit. I don't do the intros as good as Drew, and with Drew being gone right now, I don't do it as well as Drew, but Blake Lovell joining us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Good morning, Blake.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on as always.
Yeah, and I do want to get a couple basketball questions in, because Tennessee, Rick Barnes got some really good news yesterday with the commitment of Julian Phillips.
Yeah, no, he did for sure. I mean, I think that's, you're talking about one of the better players, there's no doubt, in the class. And I think you look at him and what he's going to be able to add, because as we know, I mean, that's a Tennessee team that's going to have to, replace some pieces. We know Kennedy Chandler is kind of someone who drove everything for them. But, when you look at what they're going to have, some of the guys they're going to have coming back, now you bring in someone like Phillips, who will undoubtedly, you plug him in right away, and he'll be a big-time player for them. That's a huge boost to get in May, and that's what we always talk about is, with the college basketball offseason now, it's something where, you can get some of your bigger, acquisitions basically in May versus we know how it used to be, where it's all right, we get some recruits here in the season, and, shortly after maybe you get a couple transfers, but this thing is just now to where you can get players at any time, and that's a big one to get, I think, for Tennessee, just because, we know how talented this kid is, and he's going to be able to come in right away and I think make a really big impact for them.
And, I mean, Tennessee had lost some guys. I mean, Tennessee's just like any other college basketball program. They had lost some guys to the portal, gained some guys in the portal, so Rick Barnes putting all new pieces together for this next year.
Yeah, and I think that's what we always say. I mean, it is something now where you pretty much just expect every single team, there is going to be some sort of turnover. Now, yes, you could point to a very small amount around the country where there have maybe been very few changes, but it's just the way it works now. I think the SEC is an interesting league for this because, you think about it, it's such a competitive league, and you've got such a combination of, 5-star, high 4-star guys coming in. You've got top transfers coming in every offseason now, to where there are going to be some guys there that, initially maybe thought that they were going to get maybe the spot that they, thought, whether as the guy or, one of the top 3 contributors on the team. And it just doesn't wind up that way just because there's so many talented players that are coming into this league, whether it be a freshman or whether it be, transfer. And so I think that's just something that we come to expect now. And again, it's not just in the SEC, but I think it is something to where that impact, is sort of accentuated in the SEC just because knowing where the league is now and just knowing how many teams we've looked at and said, okay, that's a preseason top 25 team. Those are teams that have, made it to the Sweet 16. And yeah, that's just the impact it's going to have, not just on, Tennessee or Auburn or any of these other teams. It's just, that's the way it is now. So,
well, for Julian Phillips, it came down to either Tennessee or Auburn. So he goes with Tennessee. Auburn misses out on Phillips, but they did get some good news yesterday that Jonai Broom will take his name out of the NBA draft and attend Auburn like he committed to.
Yeah, and he's a really good player. You know, we always talk about the transfers, and I think experience, especially when you're transferring up, and we always talk about that. You know, but this is a guy that clearly very talented, and I think that he's not gonna have many issues. I think sort of making that transfer up that we always talk about, going from a mid-major team to, you know, a power conference team like this. But to have him just with his size, you know, a 6'10" kid that can come in and certainly fill a lot of needs, I think, for them, and just knowing kind of the numbers he's put up, you know, not just in terms of his, you know, averaging the double-double, but, I mean, he's someone who can block shots. He's very efficient in terms of, you know, the offense that he has on the floor. And so that's huge for them. I mean, there's no doubt. I'd say he was one of the better players in the transfer portal this offseason. And, you know, you kind of look at Auburn now, and I think that's a team, again, you're going to expect them to be kind of right there in that same group with a lot of these other teams, you know, near the top of the SEC. And it's just a matter of, okay, how do all the new pieces come together? How does everything fit? And I think that's always the question now when you talk about how many moving parts you have for a team in the offseason. But, you know, with Auburn, I think that they're going to be in a really good spot again. But there's no doubt getting Prue back, knowing that he's going to be there. Now, if you're Bruce Pearl, you know, you can start to put those pieces together and say, all right, here's how we would love to use him like this and do these different things. So, yeah, that's no doubt. Big boost there for the Tigers.
Who's kind of left? Are there SEC teams you think that'll be still active in the transfer portal?
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's just a matter of knowing that there are still guys that are transferred. And I think that that's just kind of understanding that, you know, there are still guys out there who are coming and going. And anytime that's the case, I think you're always looking for an opportunity to upgrade your roster. And, you know, there's just a lot of guys still that are in a position where, you know, if you have those spots and you feel like that there are guys out there that you can, you know, take a look at and get them in. Like I said, it's about improving your team at any point now. It's not just, all right, things stop at the 1st of May and we've got our team and we're ready to go. It's just, this is the way. It's always moving. And, I mean, even look at someone like, you know, Florida, Lance Lofton this morning, really good player. And I think Florida's had one of the better off seasons of anyone thus far. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think you put them right there with Arkansas in terms of teams that have just had fantastic seasons. And I think it's just one of those things now where you're always trying to figure out, okay, what's the next missing piece? Can we upgrade here? Can we upgrade there? And just knowing the rules of the transfer portal and what that allows, yeah, I would fully expect there's still going to be several teams that are active and trying to make additions. And as we've seen just in the past couple of days, there are teams still adding players to the thing.
Well, there's been plenty of basketball news, college baseball going on. We're down to the but it's hard to believe that we are down to the final 2 series of SEC play in college baseball starting this weekend.
Yeah, it is wild because, you know, like we say, we always talk a lot about basketball, and it's just like, you know, it's kind of that crossover to where once the NCAA tournament's over, it's like, all right, let's you know, for some people they've already geared into baseball, and we know in the SEC there's a lot of successful teams, so that does start early. But it's like, all right, well now it's, you know, it's April. Okay, well, boy, here we are in mid-May, and it's like this thing has just flown by to where, like you said, now we got 2 series left for every SEC team, and it is something. And it's going to be an interesting weekend because we know now, you know, everybody, we look at the projections and we start to look ahead and say, all right, this team should be, they're in great shape to host. You've got some of these other teams that are, you know, just kind of putting themselves in a position where, hey, we could maybe not have the best finish, but we're going to be fine. But, you know, there's some other teams where it's just, it comes down to it now. It doesn't matter. Projections don't matter. RPIs and stuff, throw it out there. You just got to win games. And I think there, you know, are some teams like that in the SEC now where if they want to be able to make the NCAA tournament, you just have to win some games at this point. But still, once again, you know, the league has done what it's always done. You're going to have a good group of teams that have put themselves in a very nice position to host, and you've got some other teams that I think will have a chance to make some noise once they get there. You know, Vanderbilt's one of those teams right now, kind of on that verge of hosting, but I think their SEC record, you know, being what it is at 12-12, they need to just win some games down the stretch too if they want to put themselves in that position. But yeah, it's another fun weekend in the league. It should be, and you know, like I said, it's just some of these teams are here. Just you have to start winning some games at this point.
Alabama travels to Auburn. You put Alabama in that bracket that they need to start, that they have to start winning some games in these final two series?
Yeah, that's what it comes down to now for Alabama. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I know we've been looking at the projections for them over the past couple of weeks, and I mean, they certainly would have loved to kind of flip how they were playing. They had that one stretch there where they were just playing so well, and that hasn't necessarily been the case here. Recently with some of these games, and obviously, I mean, there's no doubt losing the series to South Carolina the way they did, that hurt. Their RPI, I think, is still top 50, or they might at 50 actually. But they have now put themselves in a spot where you're 10-14 in the SEC, and you just have to win some games, and that's going to be much easier said than done. And I always say, in this league, it's about the schedule, and Alabama has played a tough schedule, and it's just kind of one of those where you hope for a good draw against different teams in the right spots, but I mean they have just kind of gone from one tough position to another, and you go from playing LSU last weekend, now you got to go to Auburn, who we know is playing so well, then you got to come back home against Arkansas, and those are 6 games right there, Auburn and Arkansas. Alabama's got to win a good group of them, I think, to feel really good about where things are. And like we said, it's something where, it's the grind of the SEC, and they had that stretch there in early April. They looked really good. But since then, it's just been a little bit too much up and down. And it is going to be a challenge, I think, for them to try to go in and win a series against Auburn and then maybe having to bounce back and do the same thing against Arkansas.
It is hard to believe that if the SEC tournament started this weekend, the defending national champions, Mississippi State, would not be headed to Hoover.
Yeah, sitting there at 9-15. I mean, they are just. It has been surprising. We certainly grouped Mississippi State and Ole Miss into that category of teams that have just not been what you thought they would be this season, and it has been a bit of a surprise to kind of look at it that way and to see where they're at. But yeah, I mean, they're kind of in a position now where I think you look at Mississippi State and kind of knowing where things stand, it's just it's a hard thing to do. And like we said, I just when I'm looking at the numbers when we do our stuff, I'm just thinking, boy, Mississippi State, and I looked at it yesterday, their RPI was like 104 or something like that. I'm thinking, how on earth did we ever expect that to happen? But I mean, that's it's what happens when you lose games, and they've lost 6 in a row now and have to go to what I think is probably the team that's playing as well as anybody right now, and I think you can even throw Tennessee into that category. I mean, A&M is playing so well, and I think for Mississippi State having to go there this weekend, that's not an ideal position to be in. Then, oh, by the way, then you got to turn around and play Tennessee the next weekend. So you talk about the way the schedule falls and putting your results into that. They're 9-15 right now, but boy, guys, they could. It may not wind up being pretty. So.
Well, Blake, Chad Gwathney here with you. Kind of talk about the SEC tournament and just how competitive the league has been, to where when I look at the last few years, it seems like the top 1 or 2 in the division winners are going to end up being probably in the finals, if not probably win the finals. It's always been a different winner every single year. Do you see Tennessee being the one to possibly win it all, being that number 1 team? And do you see any kind of upsets, kind of like with Alabama last year being number 10 and upsetting South Carolina?
Yeah, and I think this is such an interesting league, especially this year, because we've been talking. It's kind of been the theme, I think, over the past month or so. But it seems like the conversation has been, all right, Tennessee is definitely the number 1 team. We think Arkansas is definitely the number 2 team, and the numbers support that. But after that, you have got such a group of teams, again, whether that's a Vanderbilt, whether that's LSU, A&M, Auburn, Georgia, we know is capable, I think, of playing some really good baseball, and they put themselves in a nice position right now. But, you've got a group of teams like that, like I said, going back to A&M a second ago, any of these teams, I think you feel like at this point, because I think with Tennessee, look, I don't want to say they've shown that they're, not invincible just because they've lost some games. They're still sitting here at 44-6, but you've at least, kind of seen some of these teams. The Kentucky series, that's just one of those things where none of us could have expected that. And I don't think Kentucky's going to pop up and, win the SEC tournament or anything like that. But you've seen some of these teams, at their best, you can still put teams like LSU, A&M, like we said, even Auburn, Vanderbilt, I think if they can find a little bit more consistency, I mean, these are teams that could still, make not just a nice run, certainly possibly in the SEC tournament, but, in the NCAA tournament. And it's because I think the grind of the season in the SEC, knowing the competition you're facing every weekend, like we just said, look at a team like Alabama and what their schedule has looked like. Look at some of these other teams. And it's just, I think that's where you get that payoff is once you get to that point. And you're going to have some opportunities, I think, for some of these teams behind Tennessee and Arkansas to really make a run. And right now, guys, I've had to pick a couple teams that you're looking at and just saying, hey, these are two teams I think can really, really make that run. I think there's no doubt to me. It's Texas A&M and LSU. I think these two are just the way they're playing. I think you just like the way that things set up for them. So those are definitely two teams to keep an eye on.
Tennessee dropped their first series of SEC play last weekend. Blake, that's just hard. I mean, what happens to the Vols going forward? I know the expectations are if they have this great start that they need to win the league, they need to make it back to Omaha, back to that championship game. But to say that the Vols dropped their first series in SEC play on how good the SEC has been, and it's coming like with 3 weeks left, that's a pretty remarkable thing to have to say.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing is, I know, 13 other fan bases have some fun with that when you start to see a team like Tennessee, lose these series finally. It's like you've been waiting for this and saying, all right, well, finally maybe it's going to catch up to them. But I think you still have to look at it and say, look, they played 50 games and they've won 44 of them. And I think that's just a scenario now where even if Kentucky, kind of comes out of nowhere and beats them in a series, there's still not another team in the country right now that you're probably going to go into a series and say, all right, give me your prediction on a 3-game series involving Tennessee and anyone else. You're still going to pick Tennessee. And I think that's just because the body of work that they put together and knowing that when they do put it all together in a single, 9-inning game, they are going to be hard to beat because it's not just the hitting, it's the pitching, it's everything. They just do so many things well. And I think that's where we're still at that point. And it's just a matter of where, we talk about the pressure aspect sometimes. Look, if they'd have been rolling through the SEC and let's say they just, go into the SEC tournament and it's just that they have an unprecedented record and those kind of things, maybe that pressure just heightens. But now I think even just losing that one series, again, you're not playing to lose a series, but now maybe some of that pressure of just all the talk is off of them. And now it's just a matter of, look, their focus is not just on winning an SEC championship. Their focus is on winning the national championship. Now, in a 3-game series, you're going to pick against Tennessee.
Vanderbilt's interesting. I mean, they're 12-12, not where we're used to seeing a Tim Corbin team at 12-12. Is this Vanderbilt team kind of trending in that right direction in your mind going in to the final 2 series and the SEC tournament?
I think so, and I think it's that series at Georgia was so important for them because they were kind of coming off the stretch there where you're just they're playing an A&M, losing that series at home. They lose that game against Louisville, which Louisville's a top 10 team, but to go and win the series at Georgia, I thought was huge for them because now you're able to kind of come back knowing. And look, we talk about scheduling, right? Like they go to Arkansas this weekend, then they come back home against LSU, two of the better teams in the league. I think this is one of those teams that pretty early on, you kind of, and even, the record that they were on such a run there, early on in the season. But I think you could kind of tell early in SEC play that this was just a team that didn't necessarily pack that same punch, of some of those previous Vanderbilt teams. And I think that's still there. I don't think this is a team necessarily that, and we know the record kind of supports that. They are 12-12 in the league. And I just don't think it's that team that has that maybe extra something that we've seen from some of Tim Corbin's teams in the past. And that's why I think this is going to be an interesting finish because, like I said, they're still in a position where they can wind up hosting if they finish well here against Arkansas and LSU, top 5 RPI team here. So that's what's helping Vanderbilt right now, knowing that they are, in the top 5 there and they're only going to play, great teams the rest of the way here, minus the MTSU game, I guess, next week. But I think that's where, again, we talk about teams just need to win. That's what Vanderbilt has to do if they want to be in a position to host. We know that now. They just need to win some games. They're right there on that fringe. And I don't know. I don't feel strongly about them one way or the other just because I think we've seen some inconsistency. But I at least think winning that series against Georgia, maybe that gives them the boost they need heading into two really tough series here against Arkansas and LSU.
All right, Blake Lovell's been with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Blake, thanks for all the information. Let everybody know where they can find your work.
Yeah, I always appreciate it, guys. Southeastern14.com. You can find all of our stuff there. And, it should be a fun race to the finish here in SEC baseball. But, of course, we also got basketball, football stuff over there as well. And everything else, you can follow me on Twitter at @TheBlakeLevel.
All right, thanks, Blake.
Thanks, guys.
Let's get that final break in, Chad. When we come back, your tomorrow's headlines today. No shortage of stuff there either.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We are actually winding things down in pretty good shape this morning. Had one new wreck. That one was on Taylor Road. No injury. Should be pulled to the side of the road already. You be careful on the rest of your trip in. We got a lot of folks scrambling trying to make it in on time. Are you over 35 and overweight? 7 different hormones can make it impossible for you to lose weight. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
The world champs are back. The Braves are out to defend their world championship. And behind Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, Dansby Swanson, Max Fried, and this loaded 2022 roster, a repeat is within reach.
There goes Ozzie, 2-2 on the way, hit well. Deep center field. Might have ourselves a tie ball game. You betcha.
And we'll bring you every huge moment of the Braves 2022 season right here on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Tuesday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
What's better than Valley Equipment Rental? 2 Valley Equipment Rentals, and that's just what we have now. The original on the South Memorial Parkway between Drake and Airport Road, and their second location on North Memorial Parkway just north of Winchester Road. Valley Equipment is locally owned and has more skid steers, excavators, and lifts than anyone in the area, plus all the small tools that you need to get the job done like a pro. And if you are a pro, you need to check out the new North location now because Valley Equipment has what you need. Learn more at valleyequipmentrents.com.
With a new face at first and some of the best arms in the National League, this 2022 Braves team is loaded up for another run at the crown.
Swung on, lifted high and deep to right field, headed for the chop house, heads up out there, gone, home run!
Tonight, it's another huge National League matchup at Truist Park as the Braves take on Fernando Tatis Jr. and the San Diego Padres. Braves Radio's on the air at 6:05 Eastern, 5:05 Central on the Braves Radio Network.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Time does keep on slipping into the future. And into the future tonight, the Atlanta Braves back in action. 6:20. Braves going to take on the San Diego Padres. Max Fried taken to the mound. Max Fried got off to a slow start to start the year, but Max Fried coming along nicely. He is now 4-2 on the year, 2.68 ERA going into this one. Yu Darvish gets the start for the San Diego Padres, 3-1, 4.05 ERA. You'll be able to hear that on, where do we have that one tonight?
I believe that would be on Zone 2. I don't have the calendar in front of me.
Because with Alabama playing Auburn tonight on Friday, I imagine we'll have to put that one on Zone 2.
Yeah, this one will probably be on. We'll start on Zone 2.
Yeah, on 97.7 ESPN, the Zone 2, you'll be able to hear that game in its entirety. So if you want to listen to the drive, feel free to listen to the drive. Then click on Zone 2. But you got to download the app. To make all of this magic happen, download the 97.7 ESPN The Zone app, and you'll be able to do a lot of great things. I'm telling you what, 97.7 ESPN Zone, we've got a lot of great things in store for you. We are going to blitz you with some good stuff coming up here in the future. Here at 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Atlanta Braves, San Diego Padres, that comes up this evening. Your other tomorrow's headlines today, if I am looking at it, the UAH Chargers softball, they were tripped up yesterday 5-0 by Nova Southeastern. They will take on Tuskegee tomorrow, or today I should say, at 3:30. We need them to win, and we need them to win this whole regional, because other than that, otherwise we have had our last conversation with head coach Les Studeman, and I don't want that to end. As much as I love having John Shulman on during the basketball season, I love having Les Studeman on more during the softball season.
Yes, they're both just great.
Because she's a straight shooter. She is.
Both great coaches, both enthusiastic. They have a personality. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go and play for these types of coaches.
Yeah. I've seen Les Studeman in action. Have you ever been to a softball game
and
seen Les in action?
No, I've actually, even when I was at UAH, I'd only been to a handful of basketball and hockey games. I had just never went to any. I mean, I think I went to one soccer game. That was
seeing Coach Studeman in action.
Yeah,
is
I'm sure
it's worth price of admission.
I'll have to check it out because
free.
I've actually never seen a baseball or softball game over there.
I have spent many of games in the dugout shooting UAH softball, and let me tell you, it is.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure.
It is.
It's worth the ticket price.
Yes, it is. It is very good. Tough news here. Jerry Jeudy yesterday arrested. He was being held at an Arapahoe, I hope I am saying that right, county jail on charges of second-degree criminal tampering with a domestic violence enhancer. It's a misdemeanor charge. He's on a no-bond hold. Innocent until proven guilty, but obviously tough news there yesterday with Jerry Jeudy, the former Alabama wide receiver. All right, I mentioned real fast that Gary Barta, the Iowa athletic director, everybody has comments on name, image, and likeness. Notre Dame head coach Mike Bray basically telling every other coach across the country to suck it up the other day and deal with it, basically is what Mike Bray said in a roundabout way. Gary Barta, the Iowa athletics director, says that if we just ended immediate transfer eligibility, that would curb the wild, wild west of NIL deals.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if these guys are just up and leaving, and you know why, and he's going over here making...
we can't totally control name, image, and likeness, then let's go back and put a 1 year. If you transfer, you can transfer. You don't have to lose your scholarship. He says a booster isn't going to offer a student athlete a big sum of money if they know if they come to your university, they have to sit out a year. But at the same time, once the student is there, they can put together a name, image, and likeness package that they benefit from. He says allowing movement of student athletes will continue, and allowing student athletes to benefit from name, image, and likeness will continue, but we've got to get it with some rules. Right now, it's free agency without rules.
I mean, it really is, because, I mean, how many professional guys would love to just leave their team that they're playing on? Like, everybody would just jump off the Browns. Everybody would jump off the Jaguars. I mean, nobody would want to play in the NFL, like the bottom tier NFL teams anymore. And
but the problem is, though, not everybody is transferring because name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
Then it goes back to, then you're going to, I mean, you can't do that. You can't say, well, guess what? We're going to have to go back to sit out a year if you transfer. He's trying to combine two different things into one.
But could you imagine a guy going back and having to sit out for a year, and you're paying this guy like $800,000 to sit on the sideline?
Spencer Rattler's a great example.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler was this leading guy at name, Heisman Trophy candidate, or hopeful or whatever.
The front runner.
Big NIL deals, front runner in Oklahoma, and then he transfers to South Carolina. So can you imagine telling Spencer Rattler, guess what, you're going to sit out a year now at South Carolina. You can get your name, image, and likeness, but now you got to sit out a year. You don't get a one-time transfer rule. Do you think he stays at Oklahoma? Anyway, that's going to do it for us. 2 hours. Thanks, Blake Lovell, Mitchell Wright. Great fun. Thank you, Chad. Drew, we're going to get you back in the chair, I promise. Hopefully next week. See you later, guys.